Everybody, happy Tuesday and welcome to another edition of my Chronic Migraine Life. We haven't spoke about my eyes in a while, so I wanted to give you guys a brief overview of what's going on. I had cataract surgery in both of my eyes at the beginning of this year. If you want more information about that, or you don't know what I'm talking about and you're just joining us for the first time, I will link in the description of this particular video the numbers and order of where you can go back and get more detailed information on that. But that's not what this video is about. In April, about a month after my second and last cataract surgery, I was experiencing some symptoms that made my eye surgeon think that I might have my retina might be detaching. Normally, I would have gone back for a post-op visit at that point, but because the pandemic had hit New York City particularly hard at that point in time, everything was closed down. So even though I was probably the most likely to get an appointment with the doctor, a post-op visit's more important than like a regular checkup, that was shut down too. They were only doing emergencies, and lucky for me, I qualified as one. Or unlucky, however you decide to look at it. I had been trying to reach my doctor for about a week by the time I actually got a hold of them, and they told me to come in the very next day. I went for an exam. My retina was not detaching. I will also link that video's description and rather what episode number in this description as well. But I was told to come back in 2 months. So at the end of June, I went back for that appointment. Now, this entire experience with my eyes puts me on this sort of like hamster wheel kind of experience, right? Before my surgeries, I was anxious and avoiding. Maybe I went through all the steps of grief, like before I even picked a day for surgery and found my actual surgeon, it was sort of like this ups and downs. Well, it wasn't really any ups, it was all downs, but in different levels, different stages. I was in denial, all the way to acceptance. And then it was more than accepting that I needed eye surgery, it was desperately needing it and wanting it to be over. Right? And in my mind, I just thought that I would have the surgery, you do the regular recovery, whatever it is, get next eye done, recover, boom, life goes on. But as we all know, that's not really how life necessarily works when it comes to our health. We don't know any foreseen issues that may arise. And, sorry, my eye is twitching. Maybe she doesn't like that I'm talking about her. And it's just maintenance. And whether we want to do it or not, and we complain about it, or I complain about it constantly, ultimately, we want to take good care of ourselves because we want to live our very best lives. And in order to do that, you need your health. More than anything else, if you're not healthy, you can't do anything. And then you're just sort of stuck. And I don't want to ever be that person that gets in my own way, especially when it comes to my health. And although my instinct is always to be like, no, I'm not dealing with that, eventually we have to deal with all the things that God puts in front of us. So when I came to accept my eye surgery, I had it done. There was all sorts of complications. Again, I will list all of the videos that relate to this one in the description. I'll link to them. And I went for the second surgery, and so this wasn't a complication that I ever saw coming. And accepting that and moving past it was another challenge. I knew after April that I would be going for another checkup in June, and it's so funny. For me, once you see something that's different, or something is different in your healing, specifically, I saw a flash of light in floaters. And that's what was apparently common, but I don't want to say normal in the sense that they shouldn't really be there, but it's not tragic that they are. The flashlight was what was more disturbing to my surgeon and flagged me seeing a retina specialist again in June. I had the retina examination by my surgeon in April, and so for June's appointment, I was seeing just the retina specialist. As far as the cataracts and my eye surgeon was concerned, I was done with them except for my yearly regular vision eye checkup, which is good news. But after, you see something that's not normal and it heightens your awareness, right? You feel a pain somewhere or something happens. You go to the doctor. They tell you this is what the situation is. You're okay for right now. Be aware of this. If that doesn't happen, just live your regular life in the meantime, and we'll keep a check on it. That for me was almost more annoying or troubling than saying, you have this problem, let's fix it. Because there's no fix. It's just watching and waiting. And while you're supposed to go on with your regular life somehow without thinking about it, every time there's a slight change in my vision, I go bananas. So, right, like, immediately after that surgery, that appointment in April, like, I'm so heightenedly aware of all the things I'm supposed to be aware of in my eye in case it's an emergency. My retina actually is detaching, and I need to do something about it immediately. Because there's a very small window once your retina is detaching for them to correct it surgically without you going blind. And that surgery, I don't know the specifics, but I know that it is far worse than the surgery I had to fix my cataracts, rather remove my cataracts, and the healing process and how you can move and what you're allowed to do is far worse. And I hear it's very painful. I want no part of it. I want it to be one and done when it comes to my eyes. So, after that appointment, I was very paranoid for like the first 2 weeks. Every time, I saw something out of the peripheral of my eye, even if it was like, a police car with the sirens going by, but I saw the flash of light, I panicked. Even though it wasn't like what I experienced that led me back to the retina guy in the first place, it was just this feeling, right? So after a few weeks and trying to reassure myself constantly that the doctor said it's fine, you're fine, right? I get through this process of May and I'm like, sort of forgetting about it, not really, but I'm not at the heightened level of like constantly like, is that different? Is that like twitching or is it my eyes? That like, I kind of, was able to go about my business. Coming up on this appointment in June, though, it started to bring back all that old anxiety. What was he going to say? This was going to be a much more involved exam. A retina exam in your eye is very uncomfortable, especially for someone like me with a migraine brain, because they flash a really bright light in your eye. It felt like an hour. I know it was probably only a matter of minutes, but I'd say about 5. And 5 minutes when you are like crawling out of your skin with uncomfortable, and I don't want to say that it's painful because it's not exactly painful, but I don't know what the right word is. Irritating, annoying. Those aren't seem to do it justice. They put this bright light in your eye that you see nothing else. Like I can't even see the light. Do you know what I mean? Like it's meaningless. Sort of like if they were, interrogating me for trade secrets, I would have gave them up. But they want you to look left and right, and they're pressing on your eyeball and left and right. I had to actually ask the doctor if I was looking in the right direction. That's how much you can't see, and the heat and the blindness. It's terrible. And then, so whatever. So in April, they only checked the right eye because that was the one that I had trouble with. I knew in June they were going to check both, which in a way I wanted because I wanted peace of mind. Because the right eye was sort of a month or so ahead in recovery of the other eye, because that surgery was done first, I was paranoid that when the left eye got up to that stage, it would happen. And of course, anything is possible. So I knew in June that they were going to check both, and while that was going to give me great peace of mind, in the interim, I was a panicked mess. Now, because of the pandemic, everybody has to go into the doctor's appointments alone, and my eye doctor's office is like next level with what you have to do to get in there, and the steps and how they separate us. And I got to tell you, I appreciate it all. It makes me feel safe and secure to go to the doctor when they're that level, but that's another anxiety thing, right? Like, am I too close to this person even though they've separated the chairs? My mask, I can't take a drink, I can't eat anything, it's just like this, right? And no matter, even if you're going for a regular eye checkup, these appointments always take like an hour and a half. I don't know what it is. They had told me ahead of time to be prepared to be there at least an hour and a half. So I don't know if that was reassuring or not, but it's just how long it takes. By the time they dilate your eyes, you see the nurse, you do your regular vision tests, and all the steps. By the time you actually see the doctor, you're like ready to like blow. Trying to keep myself calm and distracted and just breathe, It'll be whatever it'll be and we'll figure it out. Before I meet the retina doctor, his resident comes in. Super nice guy. We talk. He answers all of my questions that I have about my regular recovery, about the retina stuff, and gives me some really great information. the first and most, well, it wasn't the first, but it was probably the most important question I had for him. When I saw my surgeon in April, I was warned that if I saw all these flashes of light or dots or something, that I had to get to the doctor's office immediately. And, if it happened at night, just come the next morning. Don't call, don't do anything, just go. I live in Brooklyn, the doctor's in the Bronx. That doesn't give me very much comfort in distance-wise. But I had forgotten that day to ask what happens if it happens on a Saturday. And, it's so hard to get a hold of any doctor. This office is particularly non-responsive. And so with the pandemic and everything going on, I didn't want to call back, but that was always something gnawing at me. What if it happened on a Saturday night? I know there's such a small window to fix it that, so anytime I saw what I thought was an extra floater or something on a Saturday, just my gut would clench. I wanted to make sure that I asked the resident, the new doctor that day. So I knew what to do. I'm a person that needs a game plan. Whether it's vacation, whether it's recovering from surgery, whatever it is, I need to know what to do in a worst case scenario. While it panics me to process that information, ultimately it provides me comfort because I know what to do. I know where I'm going, what my steps forward are. I can renegotiate as things change, but I'll know what to do. I know a lot of people are not like that. They don't want any details. I'm so the opposite girl. Matter of fact, I had asked about the complications of cataract surgery. And through all the talk of the 1 in a million chances of things, they never mentioned retina detachment. Ironically, I'm not even positive if I told you that, guys, this. I probably did last time. We talked about my eyes. I was going through old paperwork, and I found the original brochure I got about cataract surgery from the first doctor I saw, not the man that performed my surgery. I actually couldn't read the brochure because that's how bad my cataracts were, but I was able to read it after. And on that pamphlet, it says retina detachment could be a complication. It's rare, but it can happen. Had I known that, yes, I would have still been an anxious, paranoid mess, but it wouldn't have been such a blow to me. But I knew something was wrong, and I'm glad that I persisted because I always know my body better than other people. A lot of folks aren't as in touch with their body as I am, but, going through all that I've gone through, I've learned to pay really close attention. I am on heightened alert when my body's telling me something. I try to brush it off a couple of times, but when it's coming at me fast, I know, because ultimately my instincts are what saved my life. What's made me seek the help that I needed to get where I am in my migraine journey. A lot of that is just luck that my body cooperated with Botox and such, but it was me. I did the work. I did the trial and error. I suffered through it and wanted better. And that's really what it is. You have to be able to know the signals that your body's telling you, because the doctors only have the textbook in front of them, and they only know what the FDA or whoever is, allowing these medications to be used, what the known side effects are, what the known complications are. But it doesn't mean that's going to be the way it's going to be for you. So when a doctor tells you, no, that medication can't make you drowsy, or it can't make you this, or it can't make you that, but it's doing it to you, and that's the only new thing in you, and you know that something has changed since you started taking this or took away that pill or whatever it is, the cream, you have to be able to be adamant about it. And so I'm just grateful that I paid attention to the signs. So when you can only get the information after you ask, and you can only trust the answers, it's frustrating. And I did the right thing. I asked the hard questions, and I wasn't told that answer. And that was disappointing, but I have to let that part go. Anyway, I asked the resident a million questions, and we finally get to the one about what do I do if there's an emergency on the weekend. He says, great question. Thank you. You go to the emergency room. Now, I would go to the emergency room in the Bronx where my doctors belong, because that would make the most sense to me. He said that there's always an eye doctor or surgeon, I suppose, on call. And you would just tell the people at the front desk or the reception area in the emergency room what you're experiencing. They would page one of us, and we would evaluate you and see if you really did need retina surgery or whatever the hell was going on. even if it wasn't retina related, if it was something new, do that. He also tells me that it wouldn't just be a few floaters, because that was my fear. So I see floaters, especially in the early morning light, but I see them most of the day. They're the same ones. They're in both eyes. They are annoying, but they're there. I said, so this whole time between April and June, I was thinking that if I had one new floater, that would be abnormal. And he said, Donna, it wouldn't be that. He said, there would be so many dots and things flying through your eye that you would actually step back and go, oh, God, something is wrong with my eyes. Like, you wouldn't be able to avoid it. So that was some comfort in not knowing that I had to pay attention to every little detail. That it would be overwhelming, and I would know that I needed help. And since that would be the case, I had some comfort in that. He does the retina exam, which is really invasive and on both eyes. But apparently when doctors know what they're looking at, you can actually see a floater in the person's eye when you're looking into it, which I didn't know, and that was sort of random. He saw my floater. He didn't think that there was anything different about them. I got a really good report. His boss, of course, was going to come in and probably do the exam again, which seemed unnecessary. It was much more brief, but still, at this point, my eyes, my brain, and my head were just unhappy, as I knew they would be. But again, I got a good report and everything. When I left the office, my eyes were beyond blurry. I felt like they had been dilated 1,000 times. They felt worse than when I actually had my eyes dilated, but because of all the pushing and the light, it was just awful. But aside from that, well, I'm going to pause because I also want to tell you that, so with this good report, they tell me to come back in 3 to 4 months. That was sort of annoying too. I thought this would be it again, but every time I want it to be over, they just love me there. They don't want me to go. To come back in about 3 or 4 months. I picked 4 months. I'm going back in October. I'm hoping at this time, I'm just seeing the retina specialist. I mean, I am just seeing the retina specialist, but I'm hoping at this time that they'll let me go as it was, because, I mean, at least I know my surgery healed really well. The resident, retina, that's hard to say, retina resident and his attending were fawning over my eyes. The resident could not believe what a good job he actually did my surgery. He looked in the computer because it was done by the same place, and that a resident from the cataract division had done it, and just oohing and eyeing. And knowing that you picked the right doctor and that it went so well that somebody else that's unrelated and unfamiliar with your eyes is so appreciative of made me feel really good, I gotta tell you. Of course, he wanted to know why I needed cataracts. Obviously, he's not following my YouTube channel. But anyway, so that was another really good piece of news. Because they're checking my vision and my eyes, besides the retina stuff, I'm hoping that in October I don't have to go back. I know I have to go back for a yearly, eye check like we all do. I'll stay with the same place because they have all my records and know what my eyes look like and scans from before, and I would just feel more comfortable. But I'm hoping that I don't have to go back to at least next summer. They say once a year, but if my last eye check is October, I don't want to go back in January. I know that's small potatoes, but potatoes nonetheless. So October, it'll start again. Before I go back to what I was about to just mention, I want to also say, so, after all that poking and prodding in my poor eyes, they were a mess for a few days. I felt like I saw far more floaters than I see now, and now I'm at my sort of new normal with my floaters. And I, of course, asked the doctor, it took forever for him to get back to me, about whether all that poking and prodding could have made me see more. He says no, but I don't believe him because I know my body. Sure enough, after about a week to 10 days, it went back to these floaters, that the excess was gone. And I feel like it was just a deep bruise. I know bruise isn't probably the right word, but that's what it felt like, And I, again, because I was seeing new ones, I go through that roller coaster process again of like the anxiety, oh my God, is something else wrong? And then I have to say to myself, actually, sometimes out loud, Donna, the guy said that there's no way your retina detached in the last 12 hours. Okay, fine, and all the little meniscus and going through it again. And so I get back to a place where I'm not so hyper aware of it or thinking about my eyes all the time. But I have progressive lenses in. They're the fancy ones when you get cataract surgery. And I do feel like my eyesight changes sometimes when I'm reading, whether I need glasses or not, the lighting, all of that matters. And apparently that's normal. But to get relaxed into it is hard. If I had not had this hiccup, would I be so hyper aware of my eyes? I don't know. Because I know that there are artificial lenses in them, would I've ever really been able to just let it go and not think about it? I don't know. Because my vision is, of course, incredible, but it's not the same as natural vision. It's very hard for me to explain to other people, but it is just different. I'm just aware of it's different. Am I just that in tune with my body? Is it psychosomatic? Maybe both. Maybe a little bit of both. So at least I'll have more time between appointments to hopefully get just relaxed about it. But I'm still driving, I'm still writing, and I can't believe how many magazines I had accumulated in the last year that I couldn't read. I couldn't use over-the-counter reading glasses like I do now when I needed help because the cataracts were blocking the entire center of my eye. So that didn't help. So now that I can actually use my eyes, I think that's why the twitching started. I'm overusing them. There's so much reading to catch up on. It's amazing, but it's a blessing nonetheless. Anyway, what I was going to say is when I was speaking to the retina resident, God, that's so hard to say. One of the questions on my list, I always have a list, was, what about the drops? Each time I had my eye surgery, they gave me, I wish I should have held on to it at least for this video to show you, but I wanted it gone. This ugly ass blue, I want to say nylon, I have no idea what the material was, like cosmetic case, like toiletry traveling case. In it was to hold all your drops, so if you left the house, or I carried it up and down the stairs every time when I got up, because you had to do your drops 4 times a day in the beginning and then tapers off. And there's 3 kinds of drops. So to carry that all around with you, they give you this little stupid bag. In the little stupid bag is also the eye patch that you have to wear at night. It's like a clear plastic. It has dots in it. It's for air, so you could see. You have to cover it for the first week every day. It's the tape to affix that to your face, which is awful, and tape that I don't feel like should be on your face because it pulled and hurt like hell every morning when I had to take it off. I wanted to die. My poor skin was so irritated. And also a pair of cataract, I call them cataract sunglasses, but they're not the ones like you see with old people, like those really aggressive, thick ones. I don't know if that's for some other kind of eye problem, or maybe they're just more modern now. I have no idea. But they were pretty much like regular sunglasses. They had a little like edge to them, so they came out a little bit further and were a little bit bigger and allegedly darker, just to protect your eyes because they're super sensitive to sun, especially after surgery. My eyes still feel really sensitive to sun, different than before the surgery, because before the surgeries, I couldn't even see in the sun. It was like snow blindness. This was sun blind. I could see nothing. I could see now, of course. It's just very sensitive without my glasses. So even if the sun keeps going in and out, I wear the shades. But I'm back to wearing my own sunglasses. I wore theirs for like a week. I had gotten these like plastic shield ones. They were clear for in the house because I was so paranoid because I didn't want anything to fly into my eye when I was in the kitchen cooking, or if I was just outside and it wasn't sunny. I was wearing those. They didn't tell me to. It was just an extra step I did for the first maybe 2 weeks till I felt a little safe. Because in the beginning, not even water can splash in your eye. Water has a lot of bacteria, like from the sink or whatever. So that was that. So again, in April, with all the retina talk, I forgot to ask the doctor, my doctor, what do I do with these drops? So I was holding on to them. I had them refilled, of course, between surgeries. And so I knew one of them was an antibiotic. I thought maybe I should keep it because, I don't know. It was a steroid, one was for pain. And so I had kept them just because I was afraid if I threw them out and I needed them again, maybe my insurance wouldn't pay for them again. You never know. I've had that happen to me with migraine medication. and it's a pain in the ass. They tell you don't need it, or they change the dosage, so you throw those out because there's a limit to how many pills you can keep. But I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. So trying to get those pills filled again was a nightmare. So I just held on to it with the drops. I put them in my closet because I was tired of looking at that fucking blue bag. And I had 2 blue bags because they give you the same kit every time. I had condensed it to one, but in there was also like paperwork of like what to do the day of surgery, the day after surgery, the doctor's phone numbers, directions to the ambulance place where I had it done. The outpatient building was different than the actual doctor's office, so all that kind of stuff was just stuck in there. On the back I wanted the papers because after my first eye surgery, my vision was very different in each eye, and it was very frustrating, and I was home alone. My mother wrote in big letters so that I could see it, number the scheduler for my surgeon because I had to make some phone calls, my local Walgreens if I had to refill my prescription for either my head or whatever, my eyes. And so every time I opened my closet, I wasn't really aware of it, but it was like So I wanted to make sure to ask what to do with this. Do I have to hold on to it for the rest of my life? And when the retina resident said, no, don't throw it out. If you need any kind of drops, it would be different than those kind of drops, and we would prescribe it to you. It would be fine. I also found that I could use regular clean saline drops if, your eyes are just itchy or dry. Apparently, whatever's in Visine is just bad for everybody, especially someone post-surgery. So, who are these people that are using Visine? I have no idea. So, I was super excited to throw that bag out, but I had forgotten about it. Like I said, it was in the back of my closet. And then maybe a week or 2 had gone by, and I went to get something, and I had to move it to get to whatever I needed in my closet. And I remember what. And my instinct was to put it back, and then I thought, I can throw this out. It was a very strange feeling. Apparently I had grown quite attached to the idea of that little blue bag. It's actually what inspired me to do this video. I thought maybe you guys are sick of hearing about my eyes, but it's what's going on in my life. And the power of seeing that blue bag and knowing I could throw it out. I kept 1 pair of those glasses, just in case I felt like they were better protection for my eyes. I kept the clear glasses I had gotten for myself because, you cook things that splash or whatever it is. Those will come in handy. I threw that tape out. The drops were going to go in a garbage. I put everything, I took out the papers that needed to be shredded because I had all my personal information on it, but rereading them and sort of seeing how the block lettering, because I couldn't see in the beginning, this conversation between you and I is happening in real time. A lot of the migraine talks that we have are in the past. Trauma that I was dealing with at the present, but was in the past. This whole topic and all the videos about my eyes is in real time, more or less. And so I'm processing it as I talk to you guys. And so it's really helpful, and I'm so glad that I started this conversation because it's helped me so much, and I really hope it's helped you. But the power of that blue bag and being able to throw it out might sound superficial, but until you've gone through a real chronic illness, to know the power to throw away the thing that your life depended on it, I haven't felt anything like that since when I stopped taking preventative medication a year ago. And when I was able to throw out that old giant pill case and use my new one, small pill case that only has vitamins and my thyroid medicine in it, no daily prescription meds for my head, that power is unlike anything else. You've gotten to the end of the road. You've made it, is what that says to me. And it brings up this bittersweet happiness. I mean, maybe not bittersweet because I'm not sad to throw it away. It's that acknowledgement of what that bag is. Every day when I looked at that stupid bag and had to put the drops in my eyes and all the things that came with that, it was unpleasant. And that part's over. And so while I didn't get to feel that satisfaction with, I'm not going back to the eye doctor till next year, the bag was providing me that closure that I was looking for. And I wanted to acknowledge it. I wanted someone to acknowledge it. So I'm acknowledging it for myself here. And I did what I do when I document everything in my life. I took a picture. I took a picture of the contents of the blue bag, and the photo at the beginning of this video, when you clicked on it, is a picture of that blue bag in my garbage. It's the end of that era. It's the end of that chapter. And no matter what happens to my eyes going forward, that part is forever closed. And I can be proud of myself that I did what was best for me, even when it was hard, and even when I didn't want to, and even when I wasn't doing it entirely with grace or strength or any of the great ideals that I always have for myself. I still did it. I still dug deep and went through all of it to get here. And every time that happens with something in my life, no matter what it is, I'm going to be proud of myself, and I'm going to celebrate the accomplishment. I'm probably going to tell you guys. I want the big moments and the small moments and all of the moments to count. And as long as they count for me, that's really all that matters. And so that chapter is over. I will, of course, keep you abreast of what happens in October, or if anything should happen. Until then, I really don't think so. I'm just not even going there. I know what to do. I've got my emergency game plan. And that's all that we can do. And until then, I'm going to just keep moving forward, keep reading, keep writing, and keep talking to you. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you next time.